Tristan Linville, and you are here with Michael Callahan for episode 29 of Water Cooler Talks on Manufacturing and Technology. Michael, did the sun come up today?
It's up. It's up. It's a beautiful day in
Yeah.
paradise. You know,
Some dog days of summer, man. It's hot out there.
another day, only time to get better.
That's right, buddy.
Uh,
Well, we got some fun packed for today.
let's hear it. What do we have going on?
Well, we're doing a podcast. We
Oh,
have a
wait.
guest coming on. It's gonna be great.
Are we? Do you have anything fun to start us off with?
I do. I have a joke.
No.
Yeah. Yeah. So there was this 18-wheeler that was carrying a bunch of Vicks Vapo Rub, and unfortunately it overturned on the highway. But surprisingly enough, there was no congestion for 8 hours.
That's a good. That's good. Hopefully that happens maybe in October for my family.
Yeah, Vicks Vapo Rub is a lifesaver. My wife uses it like, I don't know, and I didn't use it a bunch as a kid, but now that I've like kind of found it through her, it's pretty good.
I love that. Yeah, that's a good one. I may need to go tell my kids that one.
Yeah, dad joke for 1,000. So,
what's Vicks Vapor Rub, Dad?
yeah.
Let's go. Who's joining us today?
Well, let's bring him on. It is Mr. Joe Chivini, independent consultant, Chicago's famous
Joe.
Chivini.
Morning, guys.
Your White Sox.
Honestly, I'm a strange bird here in Chicago.
Ooh.
I actually like all Chicago teams.
Okay.
I grew up on the north side, but I'll tell you, I've had some really great experiences going down to the south side for a Sox game or for a Red Star game or for a Chicago Fire game. Both sides of the city are really fantastic. And now with the threat of the Bears moving out to the suburbs, it's really going to be a bigger spread on what I'm going to be doing during the fall. But no, thank you for the question. I'm really just a fan of Chicago sports, living on the north side and being a Chicagoan my entire life. It's just really the best of both worlds. I have two teams that when one's doing great, the other one's usually not. Sometimes they're both doing really bad. So I have nothing but hope for the next season, like every other, Chicago fan. But no, I like them both, especially the Bulls. I think that there's a lot of opportunity for these teams this year. Cubs are really hot right now. They're first in the Central, and their bats are just going crazy. But thanks for asking. Love being here in this city and wouldn't want to be anywhere else in the world.
Yeah, my sports motto is "There's always next year."
That's right. That's right.
But this year,
a cool little thing back here, but
yeah, you do.
4 years ago now.
But I just want to point out and just kind of put a bow on this because we've been talking about this Oklahoma City Thunder run for I don't know how many episodes in a row, but we're going to put a bow on it because Mr. Chivini scraped his way, found a ticket to Game 7 of the NBA Finals, and was actually there in my hometown, Oklahoma City. How was it? Was it an amazing experience?
It was as amazing as Jordan winning his 6th ring.
Ooh.
It was absolutely
awesome.
When you think about the impact that OKC first national championship, you've got so much excitement. You've got a young team. Alex Caruso. I mean, I followed him when he was a Bulls player and thought he was absolutely the thing. And, when they traded him, I was going to miss that bald head and headband for forever. But, man, getting to see him again up close was really just a treat. It was just off the hook, just like it was, that 6th ring for Jordan in that game, knowing it would be his last and just draining it. So to me, it was just as exciting.
That's awesome. Yeah,
it really was.
The city was buzzing, man. I mean, even this, following that, my wife and my 2-year-old and I, we went out to downtown and joined, 600,000 of our best friends for the parade. And it is such a great little small market that for this little glimpse in time, it just feels like everybody was together, unified. And you know what? Shout out to the Pacers. I know this isn't a sports podcast, or I know that I'm not like Stephen A. Smith, But
We can turn it into it real quick.
as a as a basketball fan, loved what the Pacers were doing. I mean, move the basketball, play the right way, defending hard. I mean, you gotta give it up for anybody that can match kind of Oklahoma City's defensive tenacity. And I feel like they did it and made Shea every touch difficult. Like, again, we all know I'm a basketball guy. I've coached in the college levels. Like, it was awesome. So we'll put a bow on it.
I'm trying to find out because so they started in 2008, right?
Yep.
Were they the fastest team to a
Hmm.
championship? We're gonna ask GPT. Y'all go ahead. I'll bring back the results later.
Yeah, well, that's a good segue because we are going to talk. You said Chat GPT. We're going to talk a little AI today. We're going to talk a little private equity. Maybe just to kick us off, Michael, there was an article that I read the other day, and I think you read it as well. Around it was an MIT study, and they made a bunch of students use Chat GPT to write their papers, and then they allowed a second control group to like use Google for just searching, and then they allowed the third control group to use nothing. And it's incredible the results that they found, that the group that was using ChatGPT over and over, they not only became more reliant on it, but they also committed less of it to memory in their heads. And I know that sounds trivial, but imagine like the workforce, our children, and the development. And these tools are fantastic, but they're a little scary in that sense of like stifling creativity. So, Joe, I just wanted to kind of open it up for open thoughts there. I don't think I sent you the article, but what do you think about what's going on with AI in the world right now?
Well, I'll tell you, the example you just brought up is a prime example of what can happen when AI is used to supplant or replace general thought.
Yeah.
And that's really the biggest problem, because you really need to have a good understanding whenever you use AI prompts. You have to be able to craft what you're looking for, and that prompt is just key. The students that you're speaking of, yeah, they're remembering the prompts, or their prompting is getting better, and they're not remembering the topics or what's generated. So what's really the benefit? None.
Yeah.
And that's really the big problem with taking shortcuts with AI. And that's what a lot of companies see as AI, but that's like that is the most rudimentary way to use a tool. It would be like using a screwdriver also as your chisel, as your door opener, as your car starter. You
Sure.
can do it, and it might work half the time, it might work all the time, but let's just be honest, it's not the most efficient way to use the tool.
Right.
And it's the exact same thing like you brought up. A lot of companies today and leaders in those companies, whether they be private equity, venture capital, medium-sized organization, all the way through enterprise. The big problem is everybody wants these types of results with very little effort, because they feel that that's going to propel profitability or increased EBITDA. But truly, the big problem is that the operators aren't given the right instruction, control, guardrails, and then advise on where they can actually make an impact with their business using these tools. The thing with AI in business, it's not something that's to supplant the person or the operator's capability. What it's supposed to do is enhance the speed to close or the speed to report, and give as little human effort as possible so we can be more efficient with the time. Right now, companies are spending money. They're not having guardrails. They're not having leadership. Everybody has a budget line for AI. Don't lie, it's out there.
Right.
But nobody knows how to use it.
Mhm.
Yep.
What are the best practices? What are the best use cases? What are the best solutions that are going to impact the company as in bigger numbers instead of the individual? This is back when organizations, and I'm old enough to remember this because I was deep in it, back in the early 90s, where everybody in an organization would create their own access database.
Sure.
And, and they would be like, oh, well, this is my baby because this is everything that I do in my day.
Oh,
They're
yeah.
all still around.
Yeah. And then, that person leaves, dies, or becomes disgruntled, and that data goes away.
Right.
So it's the exact same thing. You have to build for the masses. And, I'm working with multiple organizations that focus on that deliverable. And
Sure.
that deliverable is, think Stark and Jarvis, not um, 2001 and HAL.
Yeah.
We're talking about how human capacity can work in harmony with technology versus technology doing the work for humanity and going off the rail.
Yeah.
And that's the other side of the scare that many pundits have with AI, is that it's going to go out of control. It's going to be self-autonomous. It's going to be uncontrollable, and we're all going to die, i.e., Terminator. And let's just be honest. Could it happen? Hey, I've seen crazier things happen in the last cycle, so
Fair.
why not? But the likelihood is very, very small. So, this one company I'm working with, Concetor, they work with the leadership to not only give technology the guardrails, but also work in harmony and partnership with leaders within these organizations to help propel
Yeah.
and improve EBITDA off of mundane things. It could be everything from processing, it could be to reporting, it could be automation of customer service. There's just so many areas within an organization where, agentic AI can, analyze as well as act alongside your people. And that's
Yeah.
really the big part that many organizations would love to get to, but they just don't know how to get there.
Yeah.
So that's the bigger piece of AI in businesses, that there's just so much want and there's just so much waste.
Sure.
I've worked at an organization called Armanino, where we were doing everything from bots to automation, and it was a very exciting time because it was right at the beginning of Copilot several years ago. Companies, started, oh my God, I can now write an email very quickly and it looks
Yeah.
professional, or I can scan, resumes. And that was really the first area when you think of AI and how it was well put together. Now, I'm
Mhm.
not going to talk about the results. ATS to me is, the world's worst thing, but it is an efficiency. And that's the
Sure.
thing, it's become standardized. And
Mhm.
that standard efficiency has been accepted by so many organizations. And that's really what AI is becoming. It needs to be packaged in ways where organizations can use it out of the box with, with advisory, without advisory, with, good stack, with, customization or no customization. There's just so many ways that you can slice and dice AI, whether it be through helpers with, your own company's LLM on your own servers, to an individual. I mean, I have my own LLM running on a Mac Pro.
Right.
And it's absolutely fantastic for me because I don't have to worry about my data going out to the web.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's the thing that many organizations fail to recognize. I mean, I've consulted with several law firms that are freaking out about AI
Sure.
because we've seen nothing but the failure of AI within law.
Right.
Creating the own cases, creating the own dockets, summarizing, poorly. All of those things are impactful. But when you look at reporting, when you look at dashboarding, Power BI, you look at ways to now properly assign KPIs with, a desired outcomes. AI can really just dial in
Mhm.
almost to a point where it's, anticipating because it's looking at empirical data, and then it's moving you forward. I mean, I'm working with another organization that has a beautiful built-in product for forecasting for SMB. And again, everybody uses Excel spreadsheets. Why? Because that's what we all grew up with.
Correct.
And let's, going back to, the broken system with the access databases, Excel spreadsheets are just as bad. And even more so because you can then have that work into your workflow. And one error in that is going to throw off your entire workflow.
Yeah.
Or ownership or, author of these spreadsheets with very complicated, calculations that are built into them. I used to own my own business that I scaled from 35 million to 155 million dollars in revenue from 1992 to 2008.
Love it.
And I'll tell you, breaking down silos, getting rid of self-reporting, making the organization understand that we're all under one umbrella, and breaking down the silos, whether it be from sales silos, customer service, reporting silos. Those are all things that really hamper growth of organizations. Private equity, venture capital, those are the organizations that right now are trimming as much as they can because so many people misunderstand private equity and venture capital. These organizations don't make money until they have an exit.
Yeah.
True.
And many people think, oh, well, they're buying all these companies. They have all this money. They have, these funds that they're, looking to deploy this capital from. And you're talking to the operators, and, some of these large ones have, like Vista or Alumni Ventures, or, they have large numbers of operators and they're trying to winnow them down because what? Profitability.
Yeah.
And, EBITDA, it comes down to percentage points.
Sure.
And nowadays, people feel like either we're wringing the rag completely dry and there's no place else to look, or we have to look at new ways to implement new tools to make us much more efficient. And that's why AI and private equity and venture capital, whether you're investing in successful manufacturing and distribution organizations, I don't care what industry you're in, as long as you're in manufacturing, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Because you know what? You have to find every dime, especially when you have things that are well beyond your control that are taking your profitability away from you.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the other side of this too. We have so many unknowns within the manufacturing sector. You have to be ready pretty much for anything. We all had an idea with the current administration what was going to happen with tariffs. We've seen this all before. We've been through it. We've been through a pandemic. We've been through from very, very low interest rates to moderately low interest rates, but we're all bitching about it. The reality is it could be a lot worse, but let's try and make it better.
Yep.
And that's what these tools are really here to help us do, whether it be a home crafted, agent work where you're creating bots for your specific need or for your specific group, or, for specific function or reporting. I've employed AI in sales operation and marketing, as well as branding and growth. And it's made me a top voice on LinkedIn,
Right.
which is, one of only 3,000 people on the platform. And I've just received my certificate. I've been on the platform now for 20 years.
Sweet.
So I was in the first 2 years of signing up for LinkedIn. So these are the things, though, guys, you need to understand within business, and large organizations sometimes gloss over the AI component, and it's hocus pocus. It's not truly AI. It's just processing in the background. AI learning is something that's key, that many organizations want to have empirical data and, pull from that empirical data so they can see everything from forecasting to other trends in finance or, other variables that affect their business.
Yeah.
Using AI, you can anticipate some of those because you're going to be looking more closely, and you're not going to forget these things because they're going to be embedded into your processes.
Yeah.
That's the other side of this too, is that repetition. Even when it comes to smaller programs, Infor, SAP, the big boys, Acumatica, all of those, platforms have a component that's AI-ish, but really it's not really there yet. And working with consultants that actually understand AI, understand what's going to be driving the future and growth of these organizations through acquisition, it's just key. And right now, many organizations need every tool in the belt, to be honest. I mean, I am getting tired of corporate profiteering over human compassion. But let's just be honest, we are in a time where corporate profit is the driver, and it's not going to change. and we need to, as an industry as a whole, be as prepared as we can, so we don't have massive layoffs, so we don't have massive changes or swings within industry where we're not experiencing a loss of goods or unavailability of goods because of poor planning. You know, these are all things that continue to build and bolster our brands that we all work for. And if we're not prepared to, you know, service the consumer, the customer, we're going to be in a bad spot. And that's the last thing we want to do, because, you know, you think about all of these brands that have been affected over the last 5 years, whether it be through supply shortages or cost overruns, and then that affecting the consumer base. All of those things really do take away quite a bit. So,
yeah, one thing you were, as you were talking, I was thinking to Tristan's article, and this will be the last thing I'll say, is I think we have to take a step back and look at when we are trying to utilize AI, what's it helping, and then the potential risks of using, you know, this AI in this situation. And I think there's a lot of times where AI makes 100% sense because you're driving efficiencies. You know, maybe order to cash, order automation, where I'm automating the person entering the order. There's not a lot of thinking anyways while that's going on. I can put them as reviewing certain things that instead of having to manually enter. So it's not going to hurt their mental thinking process, but we don't want to take away the requirement to think, because that's really where, as humans, we get really strong and creative, and we want to drive that creativity.
Yep. Oh, agreed. I mean, to me, the bottom line is AI is no longer an operational business, you know, optional for businesses to compete, you know, especially with private equity and middle market. You know, if you're not applying AI to operations or pricing or customer retention, the chances are somebody else in your industry already is.
Yeah.
And and you know, let's just be honest, they're going to be doing it cheaper, faster, and more precisely.
Yeah.
You know, the cost of inaction right now isn't theoretical. And, you know, we're seeing margin compression, slower sales cycles, and exits that underperform because firms waited too long to act. You know, and, you know, the opportunity isn't to build a flashy tool. It's applying AI to the right use cases, one that, you know, especially ones that directly hit EBITDA, and doing it without the burden of hiring, you know, full AI teams, you know, which is the other part of this as well. So, you know, I'm seeing more and more organizations marching to this tune. I just think, unfortunately, it's going to take many of the bigger players a longer time to get there, because let's just be honest, guys, this is one of the things that does drive me nuts about the consulting industry. I've been in it for such a long time, you know, even through chemical sales and pharmaceutical sales, I'm still a consultant. And, you know, I've got to be honest with you, having this level and, you know, what to do, you've got to just, you know, you've got to start small. You've got to, you know, understand that you have to have quality data. I saw a cartoon. You started off the show with a joke. I got to tell you, I saw one of the funniest, you know, little pictures on LinkedIn of data. And, you know, everybody uses the same icon for data centers, but it had a duty icon on top of the data center. And then it was duty, and then equals, and then it was duty with reporting, and then the next one was duty with, you know, it was like a unicorn, a rainbow unicorn with duty, and each one was a duty. And that's really the biggest thing. Is that, you know, we need to understand that data is also the first step in making sure that your projects work well. And I'll tell you, I've owned a company that we had crap data. And I thought to myself, no, it's beautiful. It's beautiful. It's the best data. It's clean. And then you realize that, you know, duty in, duty out.
It's true, man.
If your data sucks, your AI sucks.
Yes. And that's the thing, guys. That's the thing. Everybody's like, oh, well, no, it's not going to shortcut. You can't. ChatGPT, please remove all the erroneous, you know, bullshit from my, you know, data queue. It's just not going to happen. No. So that's the other side that, unfortunately, many smaller organizations allow themselves to get away with. And
Right.
that's really the other side of this too. Medium-sized businesses, $100 million, $200 million businesses spend two payrolls on, somebody that's a data scientist or
Sure.
an analytical person that can actually go through and make sure the data's clean, making sure that it gets in properly. And being a consultant to these smaller organizations, they just don't want to see it. They
Right.
want to believe that it's wrong. And, some of the worst implementations I've had in my life are people that don't want to believe that their data's crap, or, and the ones that are the best are the ones that say, hey, you know what? I know I've got problems. Let's start fresh. Let's pull some empirical over, and then over time we'll clean.
Yeah.
And that's the part that people have come to accept as an MO when you're doing work like this. And it has to be the same with AI.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, everybody's still looking that AI is going to be a shortcut. And in all honesty, it will be, but it takes a long time to get it set up properly.
Sure.
Yeah.
And that's where, it's kind of great because you kind of wrap this in a good way, because it has been a common theme as we've been talking to different guests, especially looking forward, to the practical applications of AI. And it does boil down to getting quality data. And how do you do that? You have to have a data management strategy. You have to have a modern platform to give you that data. Like you can't, somebody the other day said, you can't take an iPhone and pop into a 67, 68 Camaro and just expect it to go, and work and connect and sync. Like you have to update that foundation and so forth. So yeah, awesome common thread there. In the sake of time, I do have to wrap with a big question for you. And we started with sporting moments earlier. Game 7. What is your favorite sporting moment of all time? I know you mentioned Jordan, and if you say that one, I'm good with it. But
no, I'm not. Patrick Kane, Game 7, 2005, overtime. Kane just brought it back in, and it was a wraparound. City went nuts. But
amazing.
That one, and that's 2005, and then 2016. I live less than a mile south of Wrigley.
Yeah.
And 2016 was watching on TV. Started walking down to Wrigley. It was maybe like the 6th inning. My wife and I made it down to Wrigley right as Cubs wing comes onto the board.
Yeah.
And we were just going, I mean, the entire Wrigleyville was just going nuts.
It's a special place.
Cars were honking their horns until, God, let's see, that was a 7:00 game in come on, Joe. Who did they play? They played the Indians. So basically, it was a night game. It was probably 9:00. Horns were still going until 3 a.m.
Amazing.
I mean, it was just nuts. And Rizzo and Bryant, talk about another great couple here. I'm sad to see Taze go up to Winnipeg, but he's a good guy. He should play in front of his home crowd, especially with him taking a spot as the leader for the team until the captain comes back from his hip surgery. Yeah. So I'm really excited to see these guys as they continue. But that's been a tradition of Chicago sports. We get really good players. They go someplace else and even become great players.
I get it.
I love it. Well, hey, Joe, thanks for coming on and joining us today. As always, drink your H2O.
Yep.
Hope you enjoyed the show. Y'all have a good one. Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.